This video is about opportunity in Nigeria. And my aim of making this video is to shift your perspective from seeing Nigeria as a country with a lot of problems where you want to get out from, to a country with a lot of potential and fortune that could obviously set you up for life. And I say this because when we talk about building a business in Nigeria, the first thing that comes to a mind of a lot of people is business isn't sustainable here because of bad leadership, bad infrastructure, unreliable power supply, unreliable regulation, which doesn't give you enough capacity to actually structure a business. All these are very much valid on why not start a business in Nigeria. But ironically, this same reason are why you should start a business in Nigeria. And I'll be telling you why and giving you reasons. My aim of making this video is not to pack it up with edits and all of that. I would try my best to make it unfiltered as possible and to feel like I'm conversing to you too, because that's what I intend achieving with this video. A lot's happening in Nigeria currently, and Nigeria is modernizing fast. When I mean it's modernizing fast. And the next billionaires and millionaires who will be coming out from Nigeria are being made now. And I feel it's only fair everyone have a better view of the Nigerian economy currently and what's going on, the shift happening, right? And that's basically why I'm making this video. So to start with, in majority of developed country, the more they get developed, the more it's easier to do business. The more you have road, more good road, the more it's easier for people to start logistic business. The more they have reliable power supply, the more people want to go into manufacturing. But for a country like Nigeria, these things are progressing slowly. So what's the incentives here, or why should you actually try to be a business when these infra are not in place? It's discouraging, but at the same time, I want you to flip it and look at it from the angle of there is a lot of unmet demand. Because obviously there's a lot of problems, and because there's a lot of problems, that means there's a lot of unmet demands. And if you're able to string a solution around this thing, you make money. For instance, let me use Moneypoint as an example. Over the years, we've always known Nigeria as a banking infra deficit when it comes to banking location. It's almost impossible to see bank in rural area, and reason is because the cost of operating a bank in rural area outweighs the profit. I mean, when you calculate how much you'll be spending in salaries for people working there, how much you'll be burning in diesel or whatever energy source you'll be using, and the cost of maintaining the place itself, it outweighs how much you'll be making, because people living in this rural area don't have enough volume of money which they can save, which you obviously will use to make profit for yourself, right? So it's not a wise business decision to have bank in the rural area. And even in the urban area, you don't have banks in every places because of same reason. So most banks choose key areas to build a bank. And it was almost impossible for a lot of people to actually open a bank account, send money, receive money, or even withdraw, because obviously you want easy access to your money. So this is a huge problem, has always been a huge problem. And what any rational human person would champion for is for the government or the bank to build more branches, right? But it's not a wise business in this aspect of the bank, because doing this is basically them burning money for no good reason. They'll be running on loss. But there's unmet needs there, and there is demand. So someone like Moneypoint coming to the scenes, come with its POS model, which allows anyone to be able to open a bank account, send money, receive money, and be able to withdraw your money, receive cash, so you can obviously move around and operate your business. And because we are able to provide this solution today, Moneypoint is worth over $1 billion in valuation. Why was Moneypoint able to do this thing? Well, it was because there was always an existing demand there. Even though your infrastructure is lagging there, the opportunities there. The thing with innovation and starting a business is problem creates demand, and demands wants value in form of solution. And solution itself equates to what? Money. Because solution is value, and with that value, you're able to make money. So no matter how chaotic a certain ecosystem looks like, as long as there's a lot of problem there and people have money to spend, you can make money. So in Nigeria currently, we have a lot of problems because we are not developed. We are not developed. But one thing you have to know is with Nigeria and a lot of third world countries, we have a certain way of leapfrogging some certain type of development using frontier technology. Obviously, you might have heard about Nigerian using telephone, jumping from landline to telephone, right? And we've seen the example of banking, which I use now, from banking system to personal banking. With the advent of smartphones, everyone now has personal banking. You can easily open a bank account in your phone. All this shows that with new technology, we can find a way to basically leapfrog some certain type of development. For instance, let's use electricity as an example. Everyone has always known there's always a national grid in most countries that supplies power. But what we've seen is with the advent of solar microgrids, a lot of people don't need the government's electricity anymore. It's more like providing your own electricity through things like solar, wind turbine, and a lot of that. With this new technology, it's easier to leapfrog certain phases of development. And today we have things like AI, which obviously a lot of people are racing to know where it would have ripple effects. I mean, what part of the economy, what sector, what place can I deploy AI and use that I know I can extract a lot of value and make a lot of money. So currently, I know no one which I can tell you, but I know AI is applicable to every part of the economy, be it agri, be it manufacturing, be it anywhere. I know it's applicable and you can extract a lot of value if you know how to position your solution around this thing. And what makes this more and more interesting is that currently, with the whole landscape of Nigeria, as I mentioned earlier, that Nigeria is modernizing fast, it kind of brings everything together and makes it now the right time to actually build a business. If you look at our population currently, 52% of our population now live in urban cities. As at 10 years ago, less than, I think, 35% of our population lived in urban cities. So your market or people you need to cater to are quite minimal. But imagine now that 52%, half of 30% population now live in urban city. It means problem that existed years ago, if you need to cater to one people, now you need to cater to 3 people, which means if you have to sell to 1 people before, you can now sell to 3 people and make money for yourself. And with a lot of people moving to urban city, that means demand will spike more in things like healthcare, transportation, logistic, housing, because obviously if you look around it today, you see a lot of real estate company. That's to tell you that a lot of people are moving more and more to urban cities. With a lot of people moving urban city, it means demand for a lot of things will surge, making it the right time for you to actually build a business. But let's deep down into the market itself. For our population, which shows that a lot of our population are under the age of 30. And one thing about young people is that we have this curiosity that allows us to be able to try out new technology very, very, very fast. Meaning, if you're able to build a new businesses using this new frontier technology like the blockchain or AI, a lot of people will actually want to test it out because they are young. Unlike older people who are now more reserved and don't have the capacity, not that they don't have the capacity, they don't have that curiosity to want to learn new things again. Unlike young people who are starting new, we have this curiosity to want to learn something new. This right makes it the right time to start a business. Secondly, smartphone penetration in Nigeria is growing bigger and bigger. I think about over 140 million Nigerians use a smartphone, and that makes it easier to meet them where they are. Before, when a lot of people don't use smartphone, it's almost impossible to meet these people, right? Because you don't have their contact details or email or whatever way to meet them. But with smartphone penetration growing, it's easier for anyone to open a bank account with just a smartphone. It's easier for you to sell to anyone, irrespective of where they are, by just opening an online store and you can sell. And with the advent of new technology, which is basically software, it's easier to meet them on their smartphone. All this basically shows you that now is the right time to actually start something new in Nigeria if you want to extract a lot of value in the next 10 years. And with tools like AI, it's obvious that if you don't move early, very early, those who move early will capture the values. I just made this video, yeah, feel like putting it out on the internet, someone find it and see the current trends in Nigeria. Know that Nigeria is modernizing fast, and if you have something in mind, a purpose or an idea, I feel like you've been nurturing, I personally believe now is the time to build it. And looking at the current leadership, I mean the government, I personally believe they've been trying, even though it's not been that fast, with a lot of regulations in place. Think like the current Startup Act and the Crypto Sandbox, which they brought out last year. It's all a good thing. And if you think about the current fund, venture platform fund, which the federal government invested in, it's all signal that, yeah, regulation would accelerate rapidly in the coming years. Because the government investing in venture platform fund, which is a venture capital fund, it shows that should the government invest in private companies and that company doesn't align with the current regulation, the government would obviously accelerate regulation to make sure that startup fits in, right? In that way, it's creating an enabling environment for startups and business to thrive. And as we've seen with crypto, with this recent sandbox, it shows that yes, they are taking new technology very seriously. Because if you look at the number of crypto and Web3 startups that have died in the last 10 years, a lot of promising ones have died. Why? Because of unclear regulation. But now we have that clear regulation, it's easier for crypto and Web3 startups to basically innovate because there's now clear regulation and compliance on how they should carry out their businesses. So these are all trends that I feel like I should be putting out there, even though there are more, but I feel like I should make an unfiltered video just putting this out on the internet. Someone sees it and acts on it, because I believe everyone has a purpose, everyone has an idea, everyone has a mission. And yeah, see you.